So today I want to talk about sleep, because sleep is actually important for a whole host of reasons. Firstly, the better rested you are, the easier change is. Not rocket science, I know. But also because we all know that alcohol affected our sleep, but some of us may have used alcohol to help us sleep, and that some of us sleep better or sleep worse after initial changes to our drinking. And some of us, which you would have put on Facebook, talk a lot about the fact that you're quite tired during the day in the weeks after giving up drinking. So all of those things together are a great big bundle of sleep issues that come up around changing your drinking that I wanted to try and address today. If you've got questions, do put them in and I will try and catch them as I go through. So sleep patterns. Alcohol, as you will know from being a drinker, alcohol affects us in many, many ways. It may well help us fall asleep quickly, and I used to have a terrible habit, which is I'd come home from the pub or wherever I'd been. I'd buy some gin and tonics on the way at home. I'd probably also have some wine there. I would go home and I'd think, you know what I deserve? I deserve to sit and just have a bit of R&R after such a busy evening, socialising. I will put a TV programme on. I will get something to drink, and I'll watch some telly and relax and calm down and unwind until I can go to sleep. And then what would happen is I'd have a programme would finish and I'd have some drink left, or vice versa. The drink would have run out and I'd have some programme left. And I'd go, oh, well, you know what? I want to finish this, so I'll either start a new programme or I'll go and get another drink. And that would carry on till 2 or 3 in the morning, when at some point I'd managed to synchronise totally the fact that I'd finished a drink and a programme, or I'd fall asleep, or there's a way I couldn't keep my eyes open any longer. Can you imagine? I was keeping myself awake in order to drink more, and finding really reasonable sounding excuses to do it. So not only was I hungover the next day, but I was dealing with the fact that I didn't have a lot of sleep, and the quality of my sleep was crap, which also meant that whilst next day I might not drink, because I wasn't a drinker on hangovers, by the time I'd got to the following day, having had an early night the night before because I was so hungover, I would be quite tired come 5 o'clock, and rather than eat some food, drink some water, go to bed because I was tired and still trying to recover from 2 nights before, I'd go back out drinking again, which of course would pep me right back up, and hey, Laura can go on till midnight, watch some TV till 3 in the morning. It was a really, really vicious cycle, and every time I was compounding the damage that drink was doing to me with the fact that I was damaging myself through not sleeping properly as well. And one of the amazing things for me after giving up drinking was that I was tired. And I therefore slept. I slept really well. I slept very deeply. But not only that, I also found that when I was tired, like at 5 in the afternoon, I'd just go and have a nap and a bit of a sleep as a treat and a reward. I didn't see anything wrong in that. I knew that my body was repairing, and it was asking for water and it was asking for sleep. So for me, it was not surprised that my sleep improved, but I was also quite surprised at how long it took for my body to get back to normal, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Let me just see what everyone's saying. That was me. No. Okay. Guys, I will freeze occasionally because that's what happens on Facebook Live, but it should pick back up. Okay, so what happens to your sleep when you're drinking? Well, you may fall asleep quickly after drinking, but what it does do is affect your circadian rhythm, which means that you're more likely to wake up in the middle of the night. If any of you have been big drinkers and maybe gone to sleep around 10 on quite a lot of alcohol, you might find you woke up at like 3 in the morning, slightly dehydrated, but really alert and awake, and then often feeling very guilty and regretful because you realise that you're drunk quite a lot. And that's because alcohol, like I've always said, alcohol affects everything in your body. There isn't anything in your body that alcohol doesn't affect. And it affects the chemicals in your body that trigger sleepiness. And so when you've been awake a long time, it messes around with all of those chemicals around sleep. And so it can wake you up. It won't let you go into rapid eye movement properly. It tricks you into thinking when you've had enough sleep or when you haven't. And after drinking, you have something called the production of adenosine, which is a sleep-inducing chemical in the brain that is increased, allowing for a fast onset of sleep, but it subsides very quickly, quicker than it should do, which means that it wakes you up before you're properly rested. So what it's done is it's induced a chemical in your brain. You know, we often talk about the fact that it induces the happiness and pleasure centres of your brain too quickly, so you need to keep drinking in order to hit them more and more. Well, this is another example of where it's affected a chemical in your brain. It's induced sleep quicker than it should have done, and then it wakes you up before you're rested. And that's part of the reason why you may wake up early and also not feel very rested. And like I also said, it also blocks REM. So you might have quite a shallow level of sleep, but you don't go into those deep levels of sleep where you get the most rest. And then it also affects the rapid eye movement stage of sleep, which gets you there. Again, this can leave you tired, regardless of how much time you spent in sleep. It also stops you drinking well. It also stops you breathing well. So we always joke about the people who snore a lot when they've had a few beers, all to do with alcohol, which is a bit obvious because if people have had a few beers and they snore, it's a real clear sign. But it relaxes the muscles in your body, which means the tissues in your throat, your mouth and nose can stop air flowing smoothly, and it's more likely to vibrate. And it's really funny because, as you know, you see as a moderate drinker, he doesn't drink very often, but literally he doesn't have to have many beers to be a snorer. Not big snorer. I used to have a relationship with someone who was a very big snorer, but he does snore, and I suspect I would too if I drank any more. It also causes other disturbances. So, for example, you're more likely to get up in the night and want to have a pee. You're likely to wake up dehydrated, particularly if you've not drunk enough water. Alcohol is a diuretic, so it means that you may sweat more and be dehydrated more, and that's also why you wake up feeling like you've got a rug in your mouth. And just because it always is the case, alcohol affects you more if you're a woman, and might affect your sleep more if you're a woman, because you metabolize alcohol faster, so you are you're more likely to affect where in your sleep cycle alcohol's impacting in your sleep if you're drinking before you sleep. And if you really want to, if you're a moderator and you really want to make sure alcohol doesn't affect your sleep, then you should stop drinking at a point where you can metabolize all that alcohol before you go to bed, bearing in mind that you might you process alcohol at a rate of about 1 unit per hour. That means you need to at least, give yourself 2 hours after your last beer before you go to bed. Now, what are the chances of that happening? I think they are very, very poor because, of course, once you've hit your pleasure centres, you carry on drinking and then you drink later than you intended to, and then you go to bed quite drunk, quite possibly after a kebab as well, which also doesn't help you sleep. So there's lots of ways in which alcohol affects sleep in particular, and it would have affected you for a long time. So if, like me, you drank for 25 years, that's a lot of years where alcohol's been affecting your sleep. Maybe not every night, because our drinking habits haven't been consistent over those 25 years. But can you imagine even 3-4 nights of the week where you've drunk too many units, where you've tried to sleep on that, and then you've got to the stage where you're drinking quite a lot, which all of us really are. If we're coming to Club Soda right now, we're at the stages where we'll probably be drinking most days. It has been affecting our sleep and our energy levels for a really long time. And it's important to know that because you're about to go through a process of change, or you're going through a process of change. You want to change a habit, you want to change something about yourself. And change takes energy, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of commitment, and commitment takes energy. You imagine, the amount of time you've already put into thinking about changing your drinking habits. It's a lot. You're having an internal battle with yourself on a regular basis. It's quite tiring. It's quite easy to give in to your inner saboteur if you're tired. And so you've got to remember that you've not only got a residual level of tiredness from having drunk for so long, but also that you probably need to top up your sleep in order to make you feel strong and able to take on this fight ahead of you. So don't underestimate sleep as a really important part of your toolkit for changing your drinking, because having the energy, feeling rested, and understanding that your body's going through a process of change, it's getting rid of a poison which has been affecting it for 20 odd years. It's getting rid of something that's been affecting your chemicals in your brain and all the processes in your body for a very long time. You're going to need that sleep to really push ahead and make sure that you can go through to get to where you want to go with changing your drinking. Which means that you also need to understand when you're tired is when you're tired. Now, when I was tired, I always used to pick up an alcoholic drink. Oh, I'm really tired. Oh, Laura, should you eat some food and drink some water? No, I know what. Why not drink some wine instead? Because that, of course, automatically stops you feeling tired because it hits the pleasure centres and creates this false sense of feeling of energy. Duh. So now you need to begin to listen to your body, which you probably haven't done for a long time, and go, oh, that trigger that's saying, I want to have a drink, that trigger that's going, go on, have some wine, might it be a trigger that's tired? Might I actually need some food and water instead? It's why that HALT acronym is really important, that hungry, angry, lonely and tired. It really is the fact that often to ride that level of discomfort, you need to understand that tiredness is something you're going through. So tiredness is something that will affect you as you're changing your drinking, and having energy is something that will help you achieve success. So it's really important that you factor in sleep and understand where sleep sits in all of this. I'm just going to check to see if there's no, I've lost it, questions. I can't see any more questions. Okay, so sleep. So the other thing is, I've got a really lovely quote here about Ariana Huffington's book called Thrive, and there's a whole chapter on the importance of sleep and how not getting enough, so this is before you even add alcohol into the equation, how not getting enough reduces your emotional intelligence, self-regard, assertiveness, sense of independence, empathy, interpersonal relationships, positive thinking and impulse control. So can you imagine that? We're already a bundle of contradictions that's probably led us to drink too much already. Underneath the surface of our drinking habits are loads of things that we might feel about our self-esteem, our work, our relationships. All of those have already been affected by the lack of sleep. Then alcohol has affected them as well. And we're only going to get those back if we add some sleep back into the mix, because alcohol has actually, really eroded some of those personal, emotional, intelligence issues that we need to drive us forward. Now, it is quite possible that if you have now changed your drinking in some way or another, that you are sleeping better, or you're sleeping worse, or you're feeling tired all the time. And all three of those things are absolutely normal. And actually, if you're sleeping better and you're building energy up, then you'll probably actually be really interesting survey to do within the community to see those that are feeling that they're achieving their goals. Do they feel well rested? Do you feel like you're getting a good night's sleep? Because I can guarantee that probably those that are feeling they're getting good sleep now that they've changed their drinking are the ones that are finding it easier, and those that are finding sleep harder or are feeling quite tired during the day are finding that more difficult. And I do think tired during the day and not being able to get to sleep are slightly two different things, so I'm going to touch on them. So like I said, it's quite, when I gave up drinking, it took 3 months of feeling quite tired and quite withdrawn to before my energy came back. And there were a couple of things about that. One is I was trying to do something difficult, and so my mood was a bit lower. Oh, can't drink, and wonder what am I going to do in my social life? Oh no, not another cup of bloody herbal tea. So you can imagine that's not an energising way to spend your life, feeling like a bit miserable because you're denying yourself something. So that tires you out. You're also having a constant fight with your internal saboteur who's trying to give you reasons to pick up a drink again, and that's quite tiring. But also the fact is that you've probably got some withdrawal symptoms from changing your drinking. Now, you know, withdrawal symptoms can be very mild, and they might only present themselves as, oh, I'm not drinking, so I'm not sleeping so well, or I'm feeling a bit tired. But it could well be that you've got some mild withdrawal symptoms, and actually tiredness during the day is one of them. And like I said, that's no surprise. Come on, you've been using a mind-altering drug for 20 years. It has changed the chemicals in your brain. They don't snap back just like that. It has affected every single bit of your body, from your heart to your lungs to your liver. Your body needs to repair. Sleep is a really important repair technique. Now, not that I'm going to go all science fiction, but I always like the cyborgs in Star Trek who need to regenerate. That idea, and using the word regeneration rather than the word sleep, is actually really interesting, because that's what you're doing every night. Sleep is medicine. Sleep is a tonic. Sleep is regenerating your body. And we talk often about the fact the liver can regenerate itself. Well, yes, it can, but it needs some help. And sleep is one way that your body regenerates itself. And so it's not a surprise that it asks you to do that a lot more often during the months after you've changed your drinking. So roll with it. I used to see going for a nap as a treat. Ooh, I'd say to myself, I'm feeling tired. Not only was I amazed that I was feeling tired and recognising it, but also not responding by drinking. It was like, woo, I'm tired. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm not going to drink. I'm going to go and have a nap. It's amazing. And so I'd go and have a nap. I'd put my headphones on because I like my talking books, and I'd go into bed and I'd have a little go into the duvet. I love a little nap. It's lovely. Waking up all tired, not knowing what time of day it is. It's really cool. So understand what your body's going through. Recognise that it's tired. Drink a pint of water. See if you still feel tired. And if you do, crawl under the covers. You don't have to go for a deep sleep. It may be just that you lie down for a small while and rest. Do nothing. It's absolutely fine, okay? You are regenerating. You are recovering. Your body needs some time and energy from you just to be still and to undertake that task. And you're probably feeling some withdrawal symptoms, especially if you're not sleeping well at all. Now, firstly, there are a number of reasons why at night you might be finding it difficult to get to sleep, and we'll come back to some of those in a minute. But common to feeling tired during the day and not being able to sleep are the common withdrawal symptoms from alcohol. Now, I will always keep repeating this because this fact fascinates me, which is that going through withdrawal from alcohol dependence is more dangerous than detoxing from heroin. Now, none of us, hardly any of us, are alcohol dependent in a physical sense, but we are psychologically dependent. Our brains have been chemically altered as a result of what we've been doing. And so we will still get side effects, and that's okay. They will go away. So it may be that you have attacks of anxiety, quite possibly if you're anxious to begin with, which is why you may have drunk. You will get those because now you're not using alcohol as a coping mechanism. So, you know, you will feel stressed. You will feel anxious because guess what, guys? You've no longer got that short-term coping tool that you used before. You may get sudden mood swings. You may feel fatigue. You may feel lack of motivation, insomnia, inability to concentrate. That one lasts a lifetime for me. Obsessive thoughts, fluctuating energy levels, memory loss. Oh, that one's still there as well. Difficulty in solving problems and thinking clearly, and depression. They are all actually side effects of changing your drinking. They are also side effects of changing your eating, taking away sugar from your diet. They are also the effects of change and denying yourself things that you have always been used to doing because you are going through a process of change. So don't expect it all to be like a bed of roses and you'll be, jumping around 5 stone lighter through a meadow of bluebells and singing perfectly in tune with long blonde flowing hair. The world doesn't work like that. For every change, there is a process to go through and there are effects and side effects. So you do need to recover. And if you've been using alcohol as a way to get to sleep, a short-term way to get to sleep, then actually one of the things that you're going to have to focus on is a new bedtime routine, because what you've just done is taken away your biggest coping mechanism, your biggest tool for getting yourself to sleep quickly. And if you've been doing that for years and years and years, then you've got to deal with the underlying problem underneath, because it isn't going to go away. It's just that you've hidden it for a long time by using, late night glasses of whiskies as a nightcap instead. So it may be that you're repeatedly waking up in the middle of the night, unable to return to sleep, having disturbing dreams. I have really vivid dreams now, by the way, they're dead cool. Struggling to get to sleep at night, spending excessive number of hours sleeping, not feeling refreshed after sleep. You've got racing thoughts. Of course you've got racing thoughts. You've got nothing to stop them anymore. You may be feeling very tired and drowsy. But that's because you've been using alcohol to deal with your sleep issue, and now you have to deal with your sleep issue. And it would have been affecting it and chemically inducing your sleep for a number of years. Sorry guys, this cold will go away at some point. So, what do you need to do about it? Well, first of all, I mentioned the fact that that you may have been using alcohol to get to sleep for a long time. That may have been linked to the fact that you get anxious before you go to bed and you worry about things, and so that points to the fact that you're going to need to deal with your anxiety and stress. Underneath all of this are pre-existing non-alcohol related issues that are still there to be sorted out. But that's not a bad thing, because A, you're now clear in the head to sort them out, and B, you need some distractions that aren't about alcohol. So actually tackling the root of the problem is a good thing to do. So you need to begin to look at how you get some good sleep hygiene, as they now call it. So what can I suggest to you? Well, there's a couple of things, and I'm going to suggest a couple of places to go and look after this, and I'll put some links in. First of all, begin to think about the role of exercise, maybe meditation, and going outside in order to help you get your rhythms back to normal. We have a cycle of sleep that is related to when the sun's up and when the sun goes down. And actually, if you stay indoors for a long time after the sun comes up, you're affecting the rhythm of your sleep. And so you might want to start looking at how you get out of the house really early in the morning, make the most of the sun and the sunlight in order to get to sleep, but also by introducing some exercise into your day so that you are wearing yourself out rather than trying to go to sleep when you actually haven't done very much. Take time to learn about your sleep patterns and your sleep rhythm. It's actually quite a big issue at the minute, and I've been reading a book called the R90 Technique, which I will send to you afterwards, which talks to you about the 90-minute rhythm that your sleep goes into, and how preparing for sleep in 90 minutes beforehand is just as important as the first 90 minutes of sleep, and also using the Munich chronotype questionnaire to work out if you're more of a morning person or an evening person. Learn about your sleep cycle, think about your sleep habits and what sort of person you are and what interferes with your sleep. And get to a point where you've got a schedule that you stick to so that you can work out where the problems are in your sleep, just the same as you might have been doing with your drinking, which is working out where your triggers are. Here you need to work out what the things are that are affecting your sleep. If you're spending hours lying in bed not sleeping and worrying about not sleeping, then maybe get up and do something more useful instead. No use to man or beast if you're lying there awake be with a buzzing brain. Do something with that buzzing brain, get out, change the scenery, and you might find that you sleep a bit better. Do avoid caffeinated drinks. They have a really huge impact on your sleep. So maybe think about when you stop those in the day. Remember that tea releases caffeine for a longer length of time than coffee, but they again do really affect you. And it's possible that your caffeine usage may go up after you've given up drinking. They do talk about the light on your phone, and this artificial light created by screens really does affect that sleep cycle, because it tricks your brain into thinking it's still daylight. So again, how can you maybe create a before sleep routine that, you know, really begins to rest you and takes you in the day and stops you looking at work and stops your brain buzzing with ideas? Maybe don't watch Newsnight. I mean, what of a stupid time of day is it to put Newsnight on? How dare you give us all of that political stuff just before we're about to go to bed? No wonder the nation isn't sleeping. So, you know, you might want to decide to change some of those things. You can watch it on iPlayer in the morning over breakfast instead. You know, no one will know that you didn't watch it live. Again, think about the food and the meals that you eat, the drinks that you might drink. If you're getting up in the night to go for a pee, think about when you have your last fluids and all of that sort of stuff. And invest some time in thinking about the relaxation techniques that will help you not only relax in order to sleep, but relax you in the longer term. Don't forget when Annie Grace talked last week about the fact that, or a week before last, that that you have to learn some longer term techniques to deal with stress. Not only so that you don't go back and drink when you don't want to drink, or drink because in response to a stressful situation, but it also helps with your sleep. This is a long-term investment in a long-term plan of you not needing alcohol in your life in the way that you've had it before. So actually those techniques are good for daytime and evening. They're good for dealing with your relationships with the people, and they're good for dealing with sleep. So think about all of those. Maybe even get a Fitbit or a activity monitor, so you begin to monitor your sleep and get a bit of a better understanding. And then finally, just be patient with yourself. Give yourself some time. You are making a big change. You are making a change. You're making a chemical change to your body, because you're taking away a chemical that has impacted on your body for such a long time, that has affected the chemicals in your body. You do need some time to get used to that, so don't panic. It's really interesting how often I see people on here go, well, my sleeping's got really rubbish since I've given up drinking. I'm not sure whether this is worth it. As if somehow the starting drinking again is going to make all of this better, rather than thinking, hang on a minute, maybe this is my body's response to 20 years of alcohol abuse, basically. I've been abusing my body with something, and now my body's got a chance to recover. It's great how we can really find excuses in our head to go back. Well, I haven't lost 5 stones, so clearly changing drinking isn't working. So I'm going to start drinking again. Like somehow drink's got anything positive to offer in the health arena at all. Dealing with the issues that are clearly underneath it all clearly will help you in the longer term. But it's amazing how our mind works, isn't it? We are really, really, really good at tricking ourselves. So, you know, and we do it with food as well, so it's no surprise. So what I'm going to share with you after this is a couple of things. One is a book that I've been reading, which is the R90 method around sleeping, and I'll share that with you. The second is, in that book is something called the University of Munich chronotype questionnaire that lets you know whether you're a nighttime person or a daytime person. For me, it's not the result that it gives you that's the interesting bit, but is actually the filling in the questions, and makes you think quite a lot about your sleep, because we can all be quite blasé about it, but just like anything else when it comes to change, until you write down the detail and begin to really think about it, you don't realise what it is that you're doing. And I really begin to notice what it is that makes me wake up anxious at 2 in the morning, and it's around that time after I've got to sleep when that anxiety hits. It's the fact that I haven't given myself enough buffer between finishing work and going to bed. It's why I had to have a New Year's resolution of watching telly. Go figure. Then the last thing I'm going to do, and I'm really glad I did this week because I wanted to do it last week because there was a 2-week offer, but there's a really lovely website called sleepstation.org.uk, which does a sleep programme for the NHS, which they're now making available generally. I really like the people that do this, and actually Emily, who is a Club Soda member, has just started working for them as well. It is such a small world, but they're currently doing a free 7-day sleep assessment, which is only going to last for the next week, and I'm going to send you a link for that as well. I think sleep is a really interesting topic when it comes to changing your drinking. I think it is really, really, really important. I think we should all, alongside our drinking plans, have a whole plan around how we're going to rest and how we're going to recover and how we're going to listen to our bodies so we give it what it needs, and not let that internal saboteur, that wine witch, sneak in and say, no, you might think you need to meditate or to do some exercise or to eat some food, but really you need some wine. You really need to be able to just sit and recognise that and go, isn't it interesting my mind is saying that? I'm not going to act on that because that's clearly bollocks. But isn't that interesting? Go and drink some water, go and watch some telly, do whatever it is that makes you comfortable and makes you feel content, so that in the hours before you go to bed, you're in a relaxed state so that you can go to sleep. Not half pissed and having dropped a glass of wine off your bedside table so that the side of the wall next to your bed is covered with red wine. It's not an attractive look, right, guys? It never worked. It was never a sleep strategy, right? It was all just an excuse to drink more wine. If you've got children, you have to get up early, then you need to develop a sleep plan that's about getting up at the right time. Actually, reading the book that I suggested is a really good idea. I suspect you can get it from the library. Your child will make you more tired. Alcohol on top of your child will make you unbearable. Why would you do that to yourself? So learn a pattern that allows you to accommodate your child during this point in time. And there's actually a whole chapter in that book about it, which I skipped because I don't have a child. But wine is not an excuse for getting to sleep so you can deal better with your child. All that happens is the wine that you're drinking before you go to bed makes it less possible for you to deal with the erratic sleep pattern that your child gives you. It's not going to make you an any better parent in any way, shape or form. You might be exhausted when you get time to yourself and you get that mummy time. But if you're exhausted, do some things to repair yourself. Alcohol will do nothing to repair you. Alcohol will do nothing to rest you. It will give you a false sense of relaxation, but ultimately over time it's compounding the tiredness that you have. It's compounding your lack of sleep. And over time it'll make you more unbearable. It will make you more tired. It will make you more anxious. It will make you more snappy. It does nothing to help you be a parent. Anyway, I will actually just come on to drinking dreams because Susie's talked about that. Will your drinking dreams stop? Probably not. I still have them. 5 years. But I quite like them. They're quite perverse. Isn't it quite perverse? So like the other night, I dreamt that I had got drunk, really, really drunk, and I'd woken up and I'd got really shit tattoos all across my arms. Because I've been thinking about having a tattoo on my arms. And so I thought, oh no, I wanted tattoos on my arms, but now I've got really shit ones. And I did it when I was drunk. How ridiculous. How did those people let me tattoo? And it was a really lovely sense of relief with which I woke up. In fact, I had managed to persuade myself before I woke up that, Laura, this is a dream, right? My head was doing this. This is a dream, right? It's not real. I was going, yeah, but I've got these shit tattoos. What's Lucy going to say? All a dream. But actually, it's your body telling you something. It's probably telling you you're stressed, which actually, in my case, is true. It still remembers that alcohol was something I did to deal with stress. It may also imply a sense of a feeling that you might be feeling a lack of control in your life, because, of course, alcohol was a lack of control in your life. And so it might be pulling on those memories. So I still have them just as regularly as I did at the beginning. And that's okay. It's fine. It's quite funny. I quite like it. I can come and tell you about it. It's all quite cool. But yeah, I cannot reiterate strongly enough that there is nothing whether you've got children, whether you're on shift work, whether you are a night person or a morning person, whether you have always had problems getting to sleep, or whether you've always slept very well. There is nothing alcohol can add that will make anything around that good. Okay? It does nothing good for you. It has and will continue to chemically alter your brain, so it makes it less likely that you can make your sleep and energy any better. And of course, if you haven't got good energy, then making a change to your drinking is hard too. So really focus on your sleep. Focus on what you can achieve. If you've got children, there's lots you can still do to impact on your sleep, even though they may be impacting on it as well. Not drinking is one of those things. Having a bath, watching some nice telly, finding some alternative drinks, reading a book by yourself for an hour once the kids have gone to bed, and indulging in a story is going to be far much better for you, both in the short and the long term, than picking up a glass of wine. So I will leave that with you, and be back with you next week, where I will prepare the webinar on the train back from the Scotland social. So if you're in Scotland, if you're in Edinburgh, come and join us for lunch next Saturday. I will share these links with you afterwards. If you have an idea for a webinar, something that you've got a question about, please let me know, because I'm trying to work out topics that are useful for you, and it helps me if you tell me. If any of you want to do a webinar, either by sharing your story, sharing a skill that you have, or something that you've learned in changing your drinking, it doesn't have to be something earth-shattering, just the fact that you might have found something useful, found a technique that was useful, I would really like you to share it. And so tell me if you would be interested in doing that too. Okay, thanks guys. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week, Jackie. Bye.